Today, I would like to start with a really simple question. How often do people ask you where you come from? For some people, it might be pretty easy to answer. For me, I'm Japanese, but also Chinese. And I'm also sort of Canadian. So, if someone asks me to answer this question, it will be more than 5 words for me to describe myself. Due to globalization, the world is becoming smaller and smaller nowadays, and with that, the kids from mixed cultures are also increasing almost every single year. So today, I'd like all of you here to think about how could we give all these kids who come from mixed cultures the place that makes them feel safe, and also the space that they can discover who they are. Here's an example from my own story. The relationship between China and Japan was politically pretty much sensitive when I was in elementary school in Japan. And at that time, even I was 10 or 11 years old, we could still get all the information from the news or social media or even family. So even at my school, many friends of mine were saying kind of negative stuff about China. And truth be told, I couldn't even tell people around me that the fact that I'm half Chinese. But on the other hand, when I go back to see my Chinese family in China, I couldn't tell some Chinese people that I'm half Japanese, because I was really scared and I was thinking that if I tell my friends where I come from, I will lose my friends around me or they might see me differently. I was 10 years old, but when you feel like you don't really belong to anywhere, and that kind of fear is not something that you can easily forget about. And also, I remember I was always questioning who I am and what kind of person that I should be, or what each certain culture is expecting you to become. Because I really felt this pressure that I don't even know where that comes from, but it was just telling me that I must choose a side in order to fit in. But unfortunately, I couldn't because I don't want to, and also, why should I? It is true the fact that we're now living in these exponential times, and then there are millions of ways to get the news that shapes the way we perceive others. But I believe all of them shouldn't stop us from defining ourselves, because I believe we have the right to choose our identity for ourselves. And that happened when I was 10 years old, and then now I'm 17. But I still remember this fear that I faced, and then that made me feel I don't know where to belong. And over time, there is one thing that changed, and that's me. Because please think about this. Today, there are 1.5 billion people who speak English and almost 1.4 billion people who speak Mandarin, and 130 million people who speak Japanese. And the world population is about 7.8 billion right now. So if I calculate this using my fantastic math skills, I can connect with almost 30% of the world population to share my cultures, value, and also delicious food through languages. That's why now I just feel, who cares? The things that I have now is a gift, and that makes me special and unique. And I'm sure my first language will be Spanish. As people around these kids who come from these mixed cultures or multiple identities should not see them through the lens of what they see or what they hear from the local news or their parents. But please get to know the person, their personality or hobby. And one day you'll realize the significance for people to be who they are, and that makes a community that can help people to accept who they really are. As Erik Erikson highlighted, in this social jungle of human existence, there is no feelings of being alive without sense of identity. Thank you for listening.